Hey guys, it's Tasty Thursday again. Today we're going to be making a recipe called chocolate eclair dessert. So here are our ingredients. We need some graham crackers, we need milk, Cool Whip, some chocolate frosting, and vanilla pudding. And you need a large bowl for mixing, and then this is our container we're going to put our eclair dessert in. Now I'm going to be making a half recipe because there's only 2 people in my house that will eat this. And so, but on the YouTube instructions I'll put the amounts and directions for the full recipe since your families probably will love this dessert. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take our box of vanilla pudding, and I'm using French vanilla, and we're going to just dump it into our big bowl. Just like that. Okay. And then we're going to add 2 cups of milk. So I have my little 1-cup measurer here. So I'll do 1 and dump it in. And 2. And dump that in. Okay. And now we're just going to mix that up, just enough so that you don't see any of the dry lumps. So just mix, mix, mix. And you want to use a really big bowl because when you put your milk in and start to stir, sometimes it sloshes out the side and makes a mess, so you don't want to use too small of a bowl. Okay, so that's enough that we've got most of our lumps out. So the next thing we're going to do is take our Cool Whip. Now, you're not going to see me do this because I only have half of a Cool Whip container left, and that's all I need. But if you're starting from a new Cool Whip container, you're going to need to get a new spoon before you dip it into the Cool Whip. But since I'm going to use this up, I'm going to just use the same spoon that I used to stir with. Otherwise, it's very important to always have clean utensils when you start different steps of a recipe. Okay, so now I'm going to stir this together, and it'll start to get a little bit thick. Not too thick, but just a little thick. So we're stirring. And you're probably going to want to stir this for about 2 minutes. So I'm going to continue stirring, and then we'll check back in just a minute. Okay, as you can see, this is getting nice and creamy. This is exactly what we wanted. And some of you might have noticed that when I started mixing this up, I was using this white spatula, which works really well for spreading, but I decided to go to use this whisk instead because this is a lot better for mixing things together, like pudding. So that's what I decided to do, so you might want to try that too. Okay, so we're going to let that sit for just a minute. We're going to come on to our next step, which is to add the graham crackers. So the basic idea to this recipe is you're going to have a layer of graham crackers, and then a layer of our pudding mixture, and then another layer of graham crackers, and another layer of pudding, another layer of graham crackers, and then chocolate. So it'll be really tasty. Okay, so we're going to start with our graham crackers, and I'm just using plain, and just lay them in your dish. And I can get 3 across on mine. So I'm going to, I'll do this so you can see. I've got my 3 graham crackers, and I'm going to pour just 1 layer of pudding. I'm going to put this underneath here to kind of catch my drips. Okay, so then what you can do is take your spatula or a flat spoon or something and just kind of spread the pudding mixture out on top of the graham crackers. Like that. So we're going to do another layer of graham crackers. You might want to have each member of your family take turns putting down a layer of graham crackers and a layer of pudding. It'll be a true team effort. Okay, and then here's our other layer of pudding. And we will spread this out. This is a really simple but really yummy recipe. Okay, and we're going to do 1 more layer of graham crackers, and then we will do our final layer of pudding, and then we'll do our chocolate. We have to melt our chocolate first though. Okay, so here's our pudding. Every last little bit of it. Looks good. This is a nice light dessert too. It's really good for warmer weather because you don't have to heat the oven up. And it's going to chill in the refrigerator overnight. So when it's really hot, you can just go into the fridge and get a slice of a cool, refreshing dessert. Okay, so now we're going to let that sit for just a minute. And we're going to come over here to our pudding. Now I just chose plain chocolate frosting. So I'm going to just use half of this because I'm making half of the recipe. But when you make this at home, you'll make the full recipe and you're going to use the whole can. And this foil lid is tricky. It's not wanting to come off. Have you ever had that happen? So I'm going to just take my knife and open it this way. Okay. So what I'm going to do is scoop out, let's see, that would be half of a cup. So I'm going to do half a cup of frosting, and then I'm going to warm it for about 15 seconds, just long enough so that it gets runny, because we're going to pour it over the top. Go down in there. Okay. Almost there. I think that's just about right. Okay, so I'm going to microwave this and then we'll check back in 15 seconds. Okay, so the chocolate is almost finished melting, our chocolate frosting. So we're going to take it out of the microwave and I'm going to give it just a really quick stir. And it should be really runny. We're going to just pour it right over the top of our pudding. Pour it I kind of just pour it around in a swirl, just so it goes all over, and then you can always take your spoon and spread it out. It should probably spread itself out pretty well. It usually does anyway. Get every last little bit of this out of our measuring cup because it's so delicious. Okay. So we're going to just take our spoon and just spread out the edges because you don't want to be able to see any pudding on the top showing through. We want it to be all chocolatey. Delicious. Okay, so we're going to put this in our fridge and let it cool for a little bit, and then we're going to have our taste tester let us know what he thinks. Now, one thing that's very important about cooking is not really all that fun, but it's very important, and that is the cleanup. So I'm going to put all of my stuff that needs to be washed into this one bowl, and I'm going to bring it over to my sink where I can rinse it out. And then I'm also going to take these things over here that are garbage, and I'm going to go ahead and put those inside this Cool Whip container since I'm finished with it too. And then I can just throw this whole thing away. And you can see I've left a few drips on the stove. I'm going to take my towel, or if you have a washcloth, that works too, and I'm going to wipe those up. Okay, now you can see that I'm pretty much ready to make my next recipe. So that's why it's not really fun, but it's really important to always clean up when you're finished cooking. So we're going to let our pudding dessert chill for just a little while, and then we'll be back for our taste testing. What's that? There's something in the kitchen. I think I know. I caught you! It's not for breakfast!